What is going on, my dudes? Welcome back to A Work in Progress, the video series where I document my studio practice as a full-time gallery artist while teaching you what it takes to get here and stay here along the way. And brother, what a week it's been. No, it's been good, man. I had a lot of really cool stuff happen over the past week. Over the last weekend, I got to do this, basically like the inaugural video of this new project that I've got, that I'm working on, right? Because I need another new project to work on. It's exactly what I need. But it's a portraiture project, and it's primarily like a Twitch project, or it's a streaming project and a portraiture project. But I started a Twitch channel, and I've called it I Paint Streamers, and I'm hoping that the title is like explanation, and it's like, I hope that that makes it self-explanatory. I'll probably have to explain it further, but basically it is a portraiture project where I am trying to link up with as many streamers as I can and paint them from kind of a pretty unique perspective, which is from life and kind of like in their setting, in their space, and basically like from behind. I did one, and I've got it here. I'll put it maybe up on the screen too, but this is what it actually looks like. And it was a really great, like, successful streaming session. The idea was that I would be streaming through my own channel, painting them live while they're streaming on their stream, right? And the idea is, it kind of, I think for me, this whole project just reinforces a lot of what I believe about oil painting, and especially in terms of it being like a tool for documentation and just kind of being a fly on the wall, sort of making note of like exciting things that other people are doing. I think that's kind of the thing that I would like to focus my efforts on. And it's also just kind of a new way of not really a new way, I don't want to say that. It's just for me, a novel way of kind of approaching portraiture. You kind of think about like Velázquez and Las Meninas, and there's kind of like this like play of like what's in the mirror and like what's reflecting, and we kind of have that sort of paralleled in these streaming setups where, you know, you've got the back of the person's head, but then in a small corner on the screen, you've got like their actual portrait in there, and then, you know, if it's positioned right, even smaller within that frame box would be me making the painting, right? And so the idea is to kind of also hunt for moments like that, where I can, yeah, kind of like explore these like themes in art history that I've found like kind of really exciting. So that's one thing that happened. Another thing is I've just been like doing the video editing grind, and that's been a whole thing in and of itself. I've been kind of trying to get better at editing, like faster at editing, but man, it is a grind, my bro. It is a grind. So I feel like I've slowed a little bit on actual painting so that I could introduce more time to video edit, so that I can put out video on a consistent basis. If that's maybe that's a trade-off I might have to make, but I'm kind of still looking at it, and trying to assess what's going to be the best. I don't know if that's a worthwhile trade-off. Maybe it is. Maybe less is more kind of thing. Quality over quantity type of vibe. Something I'm considering. I guess the thing that makes that difficult for me is that I have such a wide range of projects. If I was just working on one thing only, like maybe just streaming paintings and YouTube or something, that would be it. But I've got a lot of things to explore, so I have to find ways to push those limitations, or to get around them, or to bypass them in some way, because I really want to bring these ideas to life. I think, and I don't want to have that regret that like, oh man, like I wish I had made this painting, or I wish I had, you know, done this little series or something like that. Like that's not the kind of regret I want to have. So, you know, for me, it's just been a matter of tweaking things and ebbing and flowing, and playing with time and all that good stuff. I think I'm getting it. I think I'm putting out video. I've got another one coming up. And yeah, I mean, obviously this one is coming out too. But I've also got another one Well, actually, the video that this is about is the one that's coming out, right? So so it's actually this one. That's so stupid. But the painting that we're working on today is actually one of the many images of JD Vance, just another in the sea of JD Vance images that we've seen in the past couple of weeks. And I painted this kind of when it was at like the height of its thing. I mean, now obviously it's been a couple of weeks, and these things don't last very long. But one of the good things that oil painting is good at is old news. So even if by the time I post this, even if this painting or the image is like completely irrelevant, I think one of the really cool properties of oil painting is that it can kind of like re-imbue things with relevance, just via filtering it through the like lens of oil paint. It just like makes things current again for some reason. I don't know. It's just one of the weird properties that it has that I really love to lean on, especially when you're working with memes and you kind of have to, or feel like you have to employ this sort of recency bias. It's like, no, you can step back a little bit and kind of re-examine things and sift through them. So one of the things in this painting that I was working on is that this is, I guess, this is a painting within a larger series of portraits that I'm making based on people that I've only ever seen on the internet. So we've got people like Onijah Robinson, and we've got like the Rizzler, and now we've got JD Vance. And one of the things that I employed technically in all of these is this very like
Gerhard Richter,
or as we know him in South Texas, Gerhard Richter. I employed this sort of like his kind of trademark like horizontal kind of brushwork that he would do in his images, and the ones that he would kind of make look like blurry photos. I employed that similar technique, except what I did was I made it vertical instead of horizontal, and I did that because I wanted to simulate or like recreate this idea that these are part of like a feed, and it sort of mimics the scrolling motion. It's kind of either going up or down, but it just sort of, I think, comments on this idea that like these people are kind of in passing. They're just like they're not here to stay, or maybe something about the way that, and this would kind of be in like, I think in line with
Gerhard Richter,
thinking as well. It just, the way that the apparatus of like social media, the contentification of things kind of equalizes all bits of content, and they're all kind of reduced to the same sort of properties. So no matter how maybe important or grave or lighthearted or humorous, they're kind of all lumped together, or they're all kind of given equal treatment. And I think that's something that he was after with his work, obviously not with social media, but more with the photograph in general. And with mine, it has everything to do with these sort of like social media apparatus. I think with the Onijah ones, what was different about this one was I did a kind of diagonal, and that was actually before I realized that it needed to be vertical. At first, admittedly, it was kind of more of I knew there was something about the motion and it feeling fleeting, but I didn't know that it was going to mimic the scrolling motion. I just felt like it was a passing thing, and so it kind of felt like it needed a swipe. But I also didn't want it to be horizontal because I didn't want to reference Homeboy like directly. I knew that technique could be employed, but I wanted to separate it from him just a little bit. Obviously it's his, he's pissed all over it and all of that good stuff. But I think conceptually you can reframe it and kind of I can reclaim a little bit of it. So it was actually when I started this second piece that which is this JD Vance one, that I realized that, hey, you know what, this technique, this technical output, it has to mean something, and the thing that it has to mean is the swipe. And in order for it to mean the swipe, it has to be vertical. And I think that was one of the big things that I was wanting to focus on with this video, was just kind of how through the process of iteration, you start bridging the gap between the thing that you're painting and the thing that you're thinking about. And the thing that you're painting, it starts to kind of click into place, you know, like a locksmith or whatever, like you're a lock picker, you know, and you're getting all of those little things into place until you finally unlock the final form of the thing, or the truest form, which is what it looks like when the thing that you're painting directly communicates or accurately communicates the thing that you're thinking about. And I think that was just the major thing that I wanted to drive home with this video, or with at least this talk portion of this video, was that bridging the gap, it happens through the process of iteration. It happens while what you're looking for is on the top of a mountain of finished paintings, basically. And it's about taking your painting and deconstructing it, and then taking each one of those elements and measuring it up against your central thesis, and seeing what works and what doesn't, and trialing new things and making errors and doing all of that stuff. So in the beginning of this video, what we're going to be working on is color mixing. I'm going to mix the major color groups in the painting, and then after that we're going to move on to application, and I'm going to apply the paint just kind of directly, and then afterwards I will be doing the swiping motion. And throughout that, I recorded myself. Instead of doing a talk over like I'm doing now, I actually did the talk while I was painting. So hopefully this gives you a bit more in-depth, in the moment insight, as opposed to me kind of looking back on things. The other thing I've added, and this was sort of building upon my last instructional video, which is now available on my website, on my shop. This was actually going to be the second instructional, but what I realized after making the first one is that my work in progress videos and instructionals can actually all be the same kind of thing, because my work in progress videos have been time lapses. This is the first work in progress that's going to be a full, uncut, in like real time, just kind of like painting process. And so, kind of lost my train of thought. This is gonna be my, what was I saying, dude? Oh yeah, that this is actually was meant to be. What I realized was that I can use my work in progress videos as short form versions of my long form instructionals. And so a lot of them, not every one, but a lot of them are now going to be kind of formatted in that way, where I will take a full long form painting video, cut it down, that'll be my work in progress, and then the instructional will be the long form version of it that has a lot more kind of insight and stuff. And then what I'll do, like with this video, is occasionally release just a whole thing, a full version of it when I think there's something that people would enjoy and I don't want to put behind a paywall. I think I'll probably put my best stuff up for free and keep, you know, the paywall for other things, and then just kind of hope for the best in that way. So yeah, we're gonna get into the video, and before I do that, like just as a quick shameless plug, I do have an online shop. And I think I'm like stocking it with some pretty cool stuff, man. Like I do these prints that I call them hand embellished prints, or I mean that's just what they are. I don't call them that. It's what they are. But basically, I take prints and I apply like really, depending on which painting it is, I look at them closely and I just apply personal touches to them, and I make them unique, and I make them sort of like the cross between an original and a print, right? And what's cool about them is that each image kind of offers up the opportunity to do different things. And so I kind of take each print and I treat it as its own artwork. I don't just kind of haphazardly paint on top of it or whatever. There's things that are they are well thought out. I've also got the instructionals on my website. I've only got one right now, but the one that I do have, I'm very proud of it, and it's called Playing with Knives, and it's about loosening up if you feel like you're in a very rigid place. This is a good guided exercise. So there's the reference photo, everything included for you to just kind of get started. And something that I'm offering up as well is private painting instruction. So if you're in the San Antonio or even Austin area, you can book private painting instruction through my website. And there's also 30-minute studio visits. So if you have a painting or a project or something that you're working on and you are having, let's say, trouble bridging the gap, right, on your own, you're having trouble figuring out, hey, like, I've got this idea and this is the thing that I'm making and it's not quite measuring up, like, what can I do? I can help you with that. That's something that I am very good at. I am like Dr. House of like diagnosing what is making art like not be its best self. So take advantage of those services if you'd like to. Otherwise, I've got cool stuff on there. And if none of that intrigues you, then just please enjoy the free content, like and subscribe, and share with a friend. So let's get into the video. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to start mixing some colors up on our JD Vance. Probably just going to start with the darkest values, always the easiest. We've got most of our colors loaded up here. Just need some cad yellow. Ultramarine blue, which I wish it was like a better color than ultramarine blue. That would be ultramarine blue, because I feel like ultramarine blue sucks. It's not strong. You have to use like a gallon of it to make any difference in your color mixture. L pigment. Ultramarine blue, L pigment. Big white. Starting with our first color. This guy looks like he's just a little bit of, see, there's kind of like a tricky little transition that they do there, but this color looks like it's mostly starting with our burnt umber, adding a little bit of ivory black, a touch of our pyrrole red, just a touch now, and some white. And this is the color that's right after black. Looks like it's one of the colors that's most predominant next to blue. So I'm going to make a kind of decent amount of it. It's too much red. Just kind of aware of that glare right there. I don't know how bothersome it is. Now I'm just taking a look at my, going back and taking a look at the reference just to see how much area I'm going to actually have to cover, which is going to give me a better idea of how much paint I need to mix. And I'm probably going to need more than what I'm making here, which is usually the case for me. I'm like so freaking, and that's just like, I'm so weirdly conservative with my paint. Like, it's like, don't use any of it. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of blue. And that's just to darken and deepen it into kind of a more of a purple. Okay, let's see. I think that should be all right. Before that color, we've got black, which will be there. This guy will be here. Now, next color is kind of this little rim of this beard area, and that's there's not as much of that color present, so that won't be a very big mix. We're just kind of dragging a little bit of the same colors that we used in some of the ultramarine blue, pyrrole red. Our target color is a little bit more towards purple as well, so we're adding a bit of our miserable ultramarine blue. Did the trick, but we didn't make enough. This thing is like super clogged. That looks about right. Maybe a touch lighter. And hit it with a tad more red. So we get that rosy cheek. Once again, just like another version of the same mixture. I feel like what's happening with each mixture is that I'm using less burnt umber and more of the pyrrole red. Gotta reload on the white. Weed blowing happening right during the filming of the video, right outside. Actually, I don't know. I don't think it's called weed blowing. It's just like there's a freaking blower going on outside. Adding just a little bit of blue also to kind of bring it into the purple neighborhood. Note to self, I'll probably start shooting these on the weekends now. Okay, that should be good for that. Next little flesh tone here is again the same, just there's very little of this one. It's kind of like a bright pink, so we just actually need very little pigment and more white. We're effectively just kind of dyeing the pigment, or the white, we're just kind of dyeing it with the other pigment, so we don't need a lot of pigment, we need more white. See, I even kind of put most of that mixture away because I'm just adding white to try to brighten this mixture, when in reality I need less pigment. So we've got that there. That looks pretty good. And then we have these little subcolors like the lips and stuff, and I think we'll just kind of do those in the moment because it's a lot harder to kind of keep track of everything. We also have that kind of rim of the hair up there too. I need to get that. We'll be able to use a lot of this light from our previous mixture, and it's kind of pretty much already giving us that color that we wanted, which is always good. And it also just is a good little indicator that your entire mixture is in the right neighborhood. You know, when you're able to pull from the different little pre-mixes that you've got and get your next target color out of it, that's a good sign. Okay, so we've got his basic flesh colors mixed. The other things are going to be like the eyes and stuff, and again, we'll do those in the moment in person. The next thing we're going to do, the next big mixture is the background color. So I want to find a clean area on the palette to start this because I don't want to muddy it down with any of what's going on over here. And I'll just give this a little wipe just in case. Now the background isn't like a pure ultramarine or pure any kind of blue, but this putting everything in like a little clean area just gives me more control. got the smallest touch of alizarin crimson. Adding more of our ultra miserable blue. And these colors are going to be, they're all going to be kind of diluted also, like pretty watery, because of how I'm finishing the painting. So I don't need a lot, is what I'm trying to say. So now we're making the suit color, which is again starting with Ultra Ms. Blue. So much of this color to do so little damage. Got that. Now we can take this mixture to start our little darker value there. This guy will have a little bit of burnt umber, my bad, which I think ruined it. Yep, that ruined it. It's okay, we'll just put more Ultra Miserable on the old palette. Touch of black. Try that. Yep, that's good. That'll be the shadow shape for the shirt, collar shirt. And then I'll grab a little bit of this guy. And this will make up the shirt itself. So one little, key thing I would try to keep in mind is like when you're mixing color, try to mix a little bit more than what you need sometimes, because you can just kind of pull from that if you need a lighter mixture of the same color. Okay. So the janky thing about my setup right now is that my like painting's over here and my reference image is over here. So I'm kind of going to be looking around, looking back and forth weirdly. Looking back and forward, back and forth. Can't talk today, bro. I also have to get the setup to where the reference is on the same side, my boy. I guess that's why I had been working with the paper one previously, but I don't got that on me right now. It's okay. Kind of know what we're doing. So we're going to start with the eyes. We've got these kind of crazy, intense, beady eyes. That's funny, man. This part's dark. So now we have to kind of mix our own little green here. I'm just using black and cadmium yellow to start, bringing in our ultramarine blue, and we're going to desaturate with a tad bit of pyrrole red. Might have overdone it there a little bit, took it too far into the gray. Let's bring it back to life with a little bit of yellow. If you kill your mixture, you just need to add more chroma. Chroma equals life, baby. We're just resaturating, basically, is what we're doing. I desaturated the mixture too much, and now we're just resaturating everything. The instincts that I had to add the red and all that were right, but the proportions were wrong. Which is another good thing to keep in mind. You know, sometimes when you're making a certain mixture and you get it wrong, you think it's your entire like ability to mix paint, when in reality a lot of the times your instincts are right, it's just your proportions are off. Okay, now we've got the eyeball or the light part of that. These eyes already look so intense, dude. It's crazy. Now we've got the whites of the eyes, which would kind of be the top little color of the hair. It's basically the same color, just lighter. So we're going to just steal from that mixture a little bit. Got a couple little highlight arenos. So what I'm gonna do next, I think, is just for the sake of the video, so I'm not like doing all this crazy movement, I'm gonna kind of mark where the basic colors are gonna go. So this is all gonna be this darker color. This image is so stupid. This is all this. This is honestly probably just gonna make me more confused than anything. So let's just start actually doing it. So I'm going to start with my darkest color, black. In this case, I'm actually using black just straight out of the tube. It's not something I do all the time, but I also won't shy away from it. we do like ourselves a nice, chromatic mixture occasionally, but you see so many of these little passages here are probably going to have to get painted back in before I do the final step. I'm also doing sort of like a tolerance test on this to see kind of how loosely I can push the brushwork and have it still kind of come together in the right kind of way at the end. Now here for the nostrils, I'm just kind of completing them. There's like two values, and I just did both of them for the sake of not having to come back and fiddle with it later. Some of the smaller passages, like they are a little more difficult to remember that they have like a small variation. So like with the lips, for instance, right now I'm adding a little bit of pyro red to my main mixture, and that's obviously just because I'm following the reference image, but it's also, I've just noticed that whenever I mix these things beforehand, it becomes a lot harder to keep track of them, and so just kind of doing them in the moment and getting them out of the way really helps. If this is Lipperonis. See, and then I can use that same mixture to mix up that kind of bright lip color. These images were so interesting to me, man. Like, just the way these things kind of start coming out. I don't know. Oh, that's it. Those are the lips, baby. Oh, I kind of fucked it up with that. Whew. Now we're doing this darker hair color. And there's kind of like a little up curl to it. I'm trying to make sure that I represent. Should probably also get a printer. This is so stupid. Ah. Kind of lightening this just a little bit so that there's a bit more differentiation. So there's a little bit more differentiation between the values, and it's not even because I mix them poorly or anything. It's just because the darker values, or at least in this color, the burnt umber is a little less opaque, so it's showing more of the underneath, so it's appearing as a lighter value, but it's not. Basically, the ultramarine is doing whiteface. Or the burnt umber. Yeah. Did I say ultramarine earlier? That was my bad. Burnt umber. The burnt umber is basically doing whiteface. Now we're getting into some spots where I have to get a smaller brush. It's starting to look like our boy. I mean, it's been looking like our boy, but now it's really starting to look like our boy. What's interesting too about these like sort of images, maybe like the way memes work, is that it sort of neutralizes like the kind of like political edge of the meanings. It almost like nullifies like the satire. I don't know, like or maybe I just don't get offended by stuff as easy. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've got buddies, and no matter what political side of the aisle they're on, like stuff like this, they just find the humor in it regardless of like whether or not they like the guy. And I think that's like a pretty cool thing that that memes can do, and I think art can do that too. I mean, at least like I'm certainly considering that with this painting. Maybe the contentification of stuff isn't necessarily that it neutralizes it, but that it's sort of like maybe it cripples it to some degree. Like everything is made content, right? So anything from like a funny story to like a tragedy is kind of given equal value on a flat screen. And so maybe there's only so much impact anything can have once it's funneled through all of those layers of mediation and stuff. I don't know, man. But what do I know? I'm just the guy making the paintings. He's got like these crazy Jerry curls, bro. Okay. Now we're closing in on the face. Switching up to small brush. So yeah, I hope the switching back and forth on the views here, like with having to look at my reference, I hope that's not been too annoying. In fairness, I will say though that we did make strides on the palette cam department. Though we maybe did fumble it with the lack of reference printed, but maybe the bigger takeaway is that we're making progress nonetheless, right? We can't maybe consider everything at once or at the same time, but we're gonna get there, dude. By the time, I feel like by the time we're you know into these like well into these instructionals, and I've got a few below my belt, they're going to be like, you know, the production quality is going to be bar none, let's just say. And you can take that to the bank, brother. Just using the smaller brush to get into all of these little hard to reach areas. Especially because these smaller, more intricate shapes are really what effectively make up the likeness. You know, I can kind of be loose in areas of like the hair and stuff, but like around the lips, the mouth, you know, that central T of the face, we really want to retain a high fidelity. We want to be faithful to the reference. That's why you see like a lot of illustrators, you know, they will take a lot of liberties in so many places of a drawing, but then you just kind of like people that do caricatures specifically is what I mean. Just that kind of like those exaggerations, but then remaining very faithful to what they're looking at in just kind of like that triangle of the eyes connecting to basically like the mouth. That's where all the magic happens in a person's face. So I'm painting around some shapes because I know that in this area, these highlights really do matter. Oh, dude, that is so funny. Maybe I have like a mid-sized brush now, so I don't have to switch between small and large. This one's good. Yep, this one's just right. I'm also just kind of thinking more about the format of the videos, and I think what I'm going to do is in the beginning of these videos, I'm going to do a slightly more in-depth overview of the material that we'll be covering in the actual video, just so that it's not as much of a mystery getting into it. I mean, hopefully I'm doing a good job at explaining what we're working on with the titles and all that stuff, but I think just for the sake of like having a mini trailer or just an accurate summary, I think that would be good. It would only help, I think. Believe it or not, we are getting closer. Look at us. So with the lightest value, I'm going to try to do a little bit less dilution because the way that we're going to finish it off with the kind of blur, we want this stuff to really glide. I personally just kind of like that look of when the lighter values have a lot of movement. So we're applying this fairly thick. Noticing that around the rosy or the highlights of the cheeks, there's a little bit, and I mixed that way too harsh. There was a little bit of this crimson, this alizarin crimson, kind of just around the cheeks. So we're gonna add that now. And what I'm doing is just adding a little bit of alizarin crimson to this original mixture. And then we're just kind of putting it down. And that's just giving us like small little variations in our flesh tone. And I'm noticing that it's mostly around where the highlights are, so that's where we're adding it. Go back in with another layer, a quick pass on this, since we've got a good amount of it. So the other thing too is that I will also try to leave as little paint left over as possible. And doing that also just kind of ensures that I get a good kind of gliding motion with my little radial blur, or my motion blur, or whatever. Radial would be from the center, that's my bad. That would be like a circular. Get some more of this guy, going here, 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 here. I think we can go lighter in our eyes, the color in the eyes. This I'm just going to actually, since my mixtures aren't mixing well, I'm going to just put white straight on where I'm painting. Just using pure white on there. And naturally it's just mixing with the colors around it. Which is fine because it's what I want it to do, but now it gives us that kind of like intensity in the eyes that we were looking for. Now we can hit the background. It really is a beautiful blue. I'm trying to keep my nice curls on the hair, but if I have to go back in and paint them, that's okay too. Repaint them. It's a very nice blue. Dang, bro. It came together. That's incredible. All these little curls kind of blend in together, and there's that little highlight around them, so I'm just putting that in very quickly. And then we've got the blue of his suit. Blue, of course, being nice and crappily transparent, as it is wont to do. shadows here on the suit. This is like one of those examples where I'm telling you to kind of, you can pick and choose where, you know, to be super accurate with. And then we're going to mix our tie color. I'm just using some alizarin straight out of the tube for our dark right here. Shadow shape. And then I'm just going to add some white to that same mixture. Or the same color, it's not even a mixture. And we're just getting a nice alizarin crimson with a little bit of white. And that's exactly what we're looking for. And then the bottom we had also a microphone, so we'll put that guy in. That'll go right there. Okay, now we can get to the fun part. Got all those colors in. Just make sure I've got all of the little variety I wanted to happen going on. Some of the colors from the flesh tone into this beard area here. Same with this, bring it down a little bit, bring these kind of down. Add the rest of that to this, to the suit. And now we can proceed. I think I left my brush over here I had washed it. So we're not going to overthink this, man. We're just going to kind of go for it. We're going up and down because I want to kind of simulate that motion of scrolling past a thing. So I'm going to just kind of start in the middle, hit it down, hit it up, and start moving across the image. And I'm going the other way now. Finding areas that might need more or less. That to me is perfect. That's perfect to me. So the next step is going to be, we need to do the likes and the kind of UI, the Instagram UI. So we're going to work on that next. Okay, so the next leg of our race takes place in the dark, brothers. Sorry, I have a little bit of a hiccup. But we're just working directly from the Projector. And I'm not doing any like preliminary drawing. I'm just raw dogging this and hoping for the absolute best. Might need something to stabilize my hand. So we're going to use the trusty broom. Just got the trusty broom out. Again, there's really no use overthinking any part of this process, even these like very tedious kind of passages. Overthinking won't necessarily lead to a better painting. The likes and comments. Okay. So now, one thing that I am thinking about while looking at this is whether to add the kind of blurred effect to the text now, right? That's something that I've kind of been leading up to the whole time. I'm unsure about it because I've not done it yet, and it might look lame, but the other thing is that conceptually it is in line with what I'm trying to achieve, which is, again, to communicate this, this sort of like scrolling motion within the image. So I think because of those reasons, I need to stick to my objective. So I'm going to pull this kind of up a little bit. And I'm also going to be mindful of the direction that I actually blur, because if I blur upwards, it's going to look like the image is swiping, like you're coming down with it. So if it was swiping this way, everything would go up. If you're swiping up, the motion would go down. Yeah, because it would be dragging. If you were swiping, yeah, like that. So the motion would drag because it would be getting left up. So that's what we're going to do. Just one motion down. I might go up after, but we'll see. Let's try just our forward or down motion first. Kind of moved a little bit. Yeah, that works for me. I'm going to make a minor adjustment. There's this white here that is not, I mean, maybe I should just be leaning in towards the chaos of it, but kind of don't like the way that got away from me. So I'm going to try that again, just with that one letter. That's better. And just kind of paint in this corner here. Yep, that's it. Whoops, forgot to turn this light back on while I was doing that part. How does it look without it? Oh, that's pretty dim. I'm sorry about that, guys. All right. So now we can, whoa. Now we can move on to the photographing stage.